Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is April, and before we get started, I have some announcements to make. I just opened up my Patreon page for those of you who have been asking, and if you don't know what Patreon is, it's a website where I can earn money from you guys so that I can continue making videos like this. So if you enjoy watching my videos and want to support me, definitely check it out for more information. One of the first things I want to do is get a bigger studio space because right now I'm working in this tiny room, and I got my sewing table and sewing machines over here, and right behind the camera is my backdrop stand and my lighting equipment, and I even have my dress forms in the corner over here that I have to drag out whenever I need to use. I'll put the link to my Patreon down below, so check that out for more information, and I would appreciate your guys' support so much. Here's the dress I found at Savers for $6.99. The gingham pattern is what inspired me the most, and it didn't even occur to me that it looked a lot like Dorothy's dress from Wizard of Oz. In this moment, I still have no idea what I'm going to transform it into, so I'm winging it as usual. Let's get started. First thing I'm doing is closing up that back slit so the skirt will be one full piece. Using my circle skirt chart, I look up my waist measurements for a half circle skirt, and I would have loved for it to be a full circle skirt, but there's not enough material for that. I marked out my half circle skirt from the bottom corner of the dress and cut it out. Moving on to the top of the dress, I draped a basic bodice on my dress form, and normally after draping, I'm supposed to true all the markings and transfer the pattern onto paper, but I didn't have time for that. This is the side of the dress. I want to keep the buttons as part of my design, and I did so by laying the side front and side back pattern pieces together and cutting them out as one. I actually only cut the side front first and then straight across for the back because I haven't decided what I wanted it to look like yet. Next, cut out the center front, and notice how I'm altering my pieces along the way to follow the original shape of the neckline. Now I can sew the side front pieces to the center front, and I still haven't done anything to the back side. Once it's sewn, I put it on my dress form and can now fit the backside. The longest part is figuring out what I want the design to look like. I went back and forth on so many ideas, but just decided to keep it simple. Since the side of the dress is where the zipper will be, I'm seam ripping the bottom of the placket so that the left side completely opens up. Before cutting out the back side, I seam rip the hem so I can blend in the new shape. All of the raw edges inside are covered with bias tape, so that's what I'm seam ripping right here. Now you can cut the back side out and sew the center back. We now have this piece left over, and after a lot of brainstorming, I finally got a lead on what to do with it. I first seam ripped the bias hem along the neckline, and will be flipping it upside down to create a cutout design in the front. The reason why I seam ripped the bias hem along the neckline is so I can take in the center front so the straps cover the princess seam, and now I can mark the neckline and shoulder seam. Remember this little corner I cut from the bottom of the dress? Well, it just happened to be perfect for some sleeves, and because it's a half circle shape, it creates a really cool rippled edge. Incorporating the sleeves also allows me to use as much of the leftover scraps as I can. A little tip, if you're unsure on a design and don't want to cut your material yet, use some muslin or scrapped fabric to see what it would look like first. Now that I'm sure I want the flared sleeves, I can cut out the other side. Before attaching the sleeves, I created thick straps for the backside. Next, I hem the curved edge of the sleeves with my rolled hem presser foot. This little accessory is the best thing ever for hemming curved edges, and I don't know why I waited so long to buy one. Here, I'm seam ripping the bias tape from the strap so I can sew the sleeves on. Now we can sew the sleeves right side together along the outside of the straps. I don't know why my thread tension was all funky here, but I had to re-sew it afterwards. To hide all the raw edges, I covered them with bias tape, and I made my own by piecing together scraps. Mark where the back straps will be placed and leave an opening to slide them in and sew them down. Next, try it on and sew the front straps on the bodice. Now we can finally attach the skirt. I trimmed a couple inches from the waist of the skirt, so I had to gather it a little bit to fit the bodice. Close up the side of the skirt with an invisible zipper. I sewed the pockets back on the skirt, but won't be adding the pocket flaps because I know I won't be using it anyways. To finish off the skirt, I'll be adding some horsehair braid. Horsehair braid will make the hem look nice and clean and give your skirt some structure. Mine is 6 inches. Trim away the extra horsehair braid after sewing all around the skirt. Next, flip the horsehair braid to the wrong side and make sure it's pressed right along the crease of the fold. And now you can sew it down along the edge. Since the skirt gets more narrow as it goes up, the horsehair braid isn't going to lay flat along the top. That's why there's a string here, so you can pull the braid and mold it to fit the skirt. Evenly pull the strings around the skirt and pin it down. To make sure it stays in place, I hand sewed it down with a blind stitch. The very last thing I had to figure out was what to do with the hanging straps in the front. I decided to take the metal rectangles from the original overalls and sew it into the waist. Now I'll be able to loop the straps through and button it in place. Here is the final transformation. I do see some wrinkling where I hand sew the horsehair braid to the skirt, and it's probably because I didn't completely smooth the skirt before hand sewing it down. I'm still really new to using horsehair braids, so if you have any tips for me, leave it down in the comments. you didn't know, I'm hosting a free event on June 17th, and there's going to be a Thrifted Transformations fashion show where you can see my creations in person. More information will be down below, so check that out if you're interested. Alright, see you guys next time. Bye!